I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to The Best Movie You Never Saw. Now, we haven't done a lot of sports movies on this series, mainly because, well, we're all a bunch of nerds. Really, though, it's because movies about sports tend to indeed be crowd pleasers, so they're not exactly the best movies you never saw because they become big hits. However, a couple of sports movies have slipped through the cracks, and the lone sports films that we've covered in this series include Kingpin and The Fan, but really, that's about it. However, there are some older sports flicks that we do plan to feature here in the future, and we're going to start with 1986's Youngblood starring Rob Lowe. A classic underdog story told through the lens of hockey, Youngblood was the creation of director Peter Markle, who also wrote and produced the film. Grossing $15 million against a budget of $8 million, it was a decent-sized hit for MGM and United Artists, but definitely wasn't the breakout success that they probably hoped for, despite the fact that it featured heartthrobs Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze, plus an early appearance from Keanu Reeves in his first movie role.
That man is fucking an animal.
Critics were not kind to the film, but it found success thanks to VHS and eventually late-night cable, where it became especially a favorite of any teen that played hockey, because Youngblood was like kind of this rallying cry movie for them.
Way to go, Youngblood!
Loosely based on his own experiences as a hockey player, Youngblood was a passion project for Peter Markle. At the time, he had two feature films to his credit. 1982's The Personals, which was a modest indie flick that he made for $375,000, and the 1984 teen comedy Hot Dog the Movie. Hot Dog grossed over $17 million on a mere $2 million budget and paved the way for Markle to develop Youngblood. At the time production began, Rob Lowe was best known for his debut role in 1983's The Outsiders, which also featured his Youngblood co-star Patrick Swayze. While it wouldn't be released until 1986, Youngblood actually went into production in 1984 before he became a full-fledged member of the Brat Pack with 1985's release of St. Elmo's Fire. So, in 1984, when they were filming this, he wasn't a particularly big star, but by the time the movie came out, Rob Lowe was on the cover of Teen Beat and every other teen magazine out there. Thank you for watching Joe Blow Videos. If you enjoy our shows, please subscribe to our channel right now, like this video, and click on the bell so you'll be notified each time a new video goes up. Now, back to the show. Filmed in Toronto in 1984, Youngblood used a lot of hockey players and locations to give the film an authentic look and feel. Ted Reeve Arena was used for the interior shots of the Hamilton Mustangs home rink. The fictional hockey team took place of the real Ontario squad, the Hamilton Steelhawks. As the film ramped up production, many of the crew, including Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves, were ready to skate, while Lowe had to learn from scratch. Lowe was not a fan of skating and said that, "I don't like any sport where you're already exhausted when you're done putting on the equipment." Peter Markle, a former international hockey player for the United States and a minor leaguer, worked with cinematographer Mark Irwin to wear skates for the hockey game scenes. A special rig was used to shoot in a way that gave it a more immediate look and feel to the ice sequences and would influence hockey movies for years to come. Many collegiate and NHL hockey players were involved in Youngblood, including Steve Thomas, Peter Ziesel, and Eric Nestorenko. Nestorenko was a former Chicago Blackhawks player who served as the hockey consultant for Youngblood, as well as being cast as Rob Lowe's father in the film. Many stories about the production exist, including some of Lowe's early sexual exploits. Earlier than his more controversial escapades, which I'm sure he'd love everyone to forget about, People magazine reported at the time that, well, Lowe was a bit of a naughty boy during filming.
Bed's a little creaky.
Tell me about it. I use it every night.
I take all these stories, of course, with a grain of salt, but I will say this. Him and his co-star, Cynthia Gibb, certainly have some really good chemistry together, and it makes the relationship on screen seem quite realistic. And I mean, look at him. Man, what a pretty boy. I mean, Rob Lowe was one good-looking dude, wasn't he?
I think you're real nice. You got a cute ass. But I don't think it's a good idea if we see each other.
Maybe that's why Corey Haim has a poster of him up on his wall in The Lost Boys. One of the production sponsors for Youngblood was Kentucky Fried Chicken. In addition to their logo appearing throughout the film, mostly next to the goal after Racky scores, he's the big villain of the film, the restaurant provided 2 meals a day. After eating fried chicken for most of the shoot, the cast and crew began getting sick and tired of eating it. Sick and tired of KFC? You must all be insane.
Savage, what you feeding for lunch? Chicken sandwiches?
Some scenes in the film are inspired by real events, including Keanu Reeves' goalie mask. Reeves spent time in high school playing hockey and earned the nickname The Wall, and in this movie he wears a mask with a scar design. This was inspired by Boston Bruins goalie Jerry Cheevers, while the rival Thunder Bay goalie wears a skull mask inspired by the Blackhawks then goalie Warren Skorodensky. The scene where Racky jumps on Sutton and leads to Sutton being uncertain about his career future was also inspired by a real incident where a Minnesota North Stars player cracked his head on the ice and died. For that sequence, a special rig was used to force Swayze into the air and to land on special pads. Youngblood could have actually become a pop culture landmark, as Lowe recently revealed that Patrick Swayze tried to convince director Peter Markle to include the song She's Like the Wind, which of course Swayze turned into a massive hit when Dirty Dancing came out.
Feel her breath in my face, her body close to me.
Feeling it was not quite the right musical style for a hockey movie, Markle passed. The song, of course, would end up appearing a few years later in Swayze's hit Dirty Dancing and become a #1 Billboard hit. Upon release in 1986, Youngblood was derided by critics as generic and derivative. As much excitement as hockey sequences can bring on screen, Youngblood was relegated to being a typical 1980s teen release that was quickly forgotten. To be fair, Youngblood will never be mistaken for Miracle or even the Mighty Ducks of Slapshot, but it does have some excellent moments along with some that don't age very well 4 decades later. Youngblood follows the tried and true hero's journey. The film opens with a young Dean Youngblood training to one day become the best hockey player in the world, complete with lots of sweat and baby oil. At 17, Dean is working as a farmhand in rural New York, where his father disapproves of his hockey pipe dreams. Dean's brother Kelly supports his brother's aspirations and convinces his dad to let him try out for the Hamilton Mustangs. Dean goes, and what we learn of his challenge will be for the rest of the film, the fact that Dean is a solid offensive player, but is just not tough enough. Dean then gets into a fight with another player, Racky, played by hockey player George Finn. But former NHL All-Star and Mustangs coach Murray Chadwick, played by the great Ed Lauder, sees something in Youngblood and gives him the spot.
What do you think, Murray?
Well, he fights like an old lady.
The film then balances Dean learning to become a teammate with the motley crew of the Mustangs and is mentored by Derek Sutton, played by Patrick Swayze, who looks about 10 years too old to be playing in the juniors.
How's he aging?
He also begins a relationship with Jessie, who happens to be the coach's daughter. Now, I know what you're thinking, this all sounds like a movie you've seen before, right? Well, Youngblood doesn't have the most original plot structure, but it does make up for it with actors who really invest themselves in their characters. Ed Lauder, an instantly recognizable character actor, is really great as the inspirational coach. Cynthia Gibb, who herself was on the rise, is able to hold her own opposite Lowe. After the aforementioned attack on Racky by Sutton, Youngblood packs up and heads home. Dean's brother implores him to not give up on his dream, and his father, who now supports his son's aspirations, teaches him how to fight.
You can learn to punch in the barn, but you gotta learn to survive on the ice.
And yes, you can rest assured that Dean then returns to the Mustang, confronts his rival in the final game of the playoff, and kicks the shit out of him on the ice as everyone cheers and the music starts pumping. Where Youngblood does not age well is with some of the hazing done by the team. In one notable sequence, Sutton and the team forcibly hold Youngblood down and give him some free manscaping.
The doctor is here. Scalpel.
Okay, whatever. Still funny. Nothing about this scene is at all strange for a 1980s movie, but yeah, maybe it doesn't work quite as well today. There's just nothing malicious about it. I mean, come on people, let's relax. Youngblood ends on a very high note that hits all of the right beats for any sports movie. Along the way, the film manages to include humor, romance, and a bunch of real good-looking actors before they hit it big. The hockey scenes are very exciting to watch and lends the movie the classic underdog feel that, well, we all love. So if you're looking for some solid fights, some good skating, and a pretty young Rob Lowe with magnificent hair, Youngblood is the perfect film. And if you like this kind of program, make sure to click on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. We're an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.